Big sister, you need to think this through. A child this old already has memories, most of them won't bond with you. It's better to adopt the newborn baby. The familiar voice of my younger sister echoed in my ears. Didn't I already die? How can I still hear my sister's voice? I looked at my own hands. These were fair, plump hands. What mattered most was that these were young hands. It was definitely not the hand that was nothing but skin and bones and covered in age spots before death, I recalled. All the melodramatic rebirth dramas from short videos in my past life, and I realized I had been reborn too. Audie, you're right, raising a child is a big deal. We need to think it over carefully. I'll discuss it further with your brother-in-law. Alright, you go ahead and get busy. We'll go see that child together on Saturday. Hearing my sister's familiar voice, I remembered how in my past life, she was the only one by my side when I was dying. In my past life, Xiao Di, is Xiao She back? I want to see her one more time. Perhaps it was a final surge of clarity before the end, but even in my critically ill state, I managed to utter a few broken words. I struggled to lift my head and saw the words on my sister's phone. My usually poor eyesight was unusually clear at that moment. I'm not coming back. Those three light, airy words were the ones I was most familiar with, the ones that stabbed deepest into my heart, and also my death warrant. That profile picture was one I often stared at. It belonged to my adopted daughter, the adopted daughter I often missed, who never replied to my messages whether I was free or busy, and who, during holidays, would only send those three words, I'm not coming back. Sister, just hold on one more day. Xiaoxi is on her way back. At the bedside, only my younger sister's voice, choked with tears, could be heard, but I clearly saw the expression of anger and grief on her face. I wanted to tell her that I knew, that I had seen the message, that she didn't need to lie to me, but in the end, I couldn't say it. Perhaps my resentment was too deep, and my soul involuntarily drifted toward an unknown place. Looking at the luxurious, newly furnished and equipped large flat in front of me on the TV wall, there were still a few large red luck characters that hadn't been torn off, along with the red words blessings for moving in. Mom, the food at that restaurant we just went to was really good. I'll take you there again next time I'm on leave. Two women who looked about 60 to 70% alike walked in through the door. Mom, I recognized her instantly. That was my adopted daughter who hadn't shown her face for over a decade, but the one beside her, I immediately understood that was her biological mother. The flavor is good, but it's just too expensive, said the older woman. It's not that expensive, just over 1,000. Me, a meal costs over 1,000, that's so expensive. A phone ringtone sounded. She picked up the phone, glanced at the caller ID, and impatiently hung up, but the phone rang again, as if it would keep ringing until the owner answered. She's face showed annoyance. I already said I'm not going back. I'm very busy with work. If there's nothing important, that's it. What are you looking at? What's there to see? Before the other side could speak, she impatiently shouted out first. My sister is gone. You ungrateful wretch. My sister supported you all the way through graduate school, and you didn't even come back to see her one last time. Without her, would you be where you are today? You've studied so much that your conscience has rotted away. The furious roar of her sister came from inside. Before she could even finish cursing, she had already hung up the phone, blocked the number, and deleted it, swift and decisive, without a moment's hesitation. Xiaoxi, maybe you should go back and see your adoptive mother off one last time. After all, she did raise you. The woman beside her said cautiously. No, I'd rather not go back and risk them clinging to me. She replied coldly. Actually, Mom didn't abandon you back then. I thought your grandparents were taking good care of you. When I found out they had both passed away, I was planning to come back and get you, but you had already been adopted by her. Her mother watched her daughter's expression carefully, explaining with unease. Got it. Mom, you should go back first. I need some time alone. She said with an expressionless face, clearly dismissing her. All right, I'll head back then. Try to think positively. It's her good fortune to have adopted such an outstanding daughter like you. She couldn't resist getting in a final jab as she left. She sat quietly all afternoon. I drifted around her house, looking at the place and everything in it, and the more I saw, the more resentful I became. We truly raised an ungrateful wretch. We should have realized it long ago. During her graduate studies, she never once asked how I was doing, only sending messages when she needed money. After graduation, it was as if she had vanished. She wouldn't even let me know where she worked. Whenever I asked about her workplace, she never gave a precise location apart from her phone number. I knew nothing else about her. when she didn't even return for her father-in-law's funeral, I thought. Perhaps she just didn't have the time when her husband fell seriously ill and she still didn't come back, nor did she offer a single word of concern or greeting, only transferring 2,000 yuan. That's when I realized, perhaps it wasn't even enough to cover 2 of her meals, yet it was given at a time when she clearly knew her husband was sick. She was the same when I was sick. I once asked her why she was like this, but she never replied. The messages I sent out almost never got any response. During holidays, all I received was a "not coming back" and a transfer ranging from a few hundred to 2,000 yuan. That should have made it clear, but I always deceive myself, playing dumb, dead, drifting here. It's like it has to pierce my eyes and stab my heart before I'm willing to wake up. As others say, we raised someone else's child, and now that the child has grown up and made something of themselves, they no longer acknowledge us. Regret reached its peak at this moment. If I could do it all over again, I would never raise another person's child. It was heaven's favor that allowed me to start over, and I will never raise another person's child again. It's just that I had previously agreed to adopt one, and now suddenly saying I won't raise any at all would be hard to explain. I still have to go to the welfare center on Saturday. The most urgent thing now is to find a reason to keep my husband from quitting his job. It seems his factory will shut down in 6 or 7 years, and with his current position, he could receive over 100,000 in compensation by then. In my past life, my husband and I often regretted this. Back then, over 100,000 in a small county was considered a huge sum of money. With the compensation, we could afford treatment to have our own child. With a bit of luck, it might only cost tens of thousands to succeed. Guoqiang, I've been thinking, you really shouldn't quit your job at the hardware factory just yet. Starting your own business is too risky. Keep a stable job for a few years and save up some money. I heard that the big hospitals in Haishur can help with our situation, but it costs over 100,000 yuan. If we save up a bit and borrow some from relatives and friends, we can go see a specialist together. Then we might be able to have a child of our own. Her husband, who had been somewhat distracted, immediately leaned in with a serious expression upon hearing that they might be able to have their own child. Sure enough, there isn't a man who doesn't want to have his own child. Really? Who told you that? What about the adoption? Wasn't it all arranged? As true can be, raising a child is no easy task. Even your own flesh and blood might not turn out filial, let alone an adopted one. I've always thought that the older one, already 10 and with memories of her own, would be the hardest to handle. If you discipline her too lightly, she might think you don't care. If you're too strict, she'll feel mistreated. The worst fear is pouring your heart into raising her, only for her to turn around and go back to her birth parents once she's grown. Back then, many people said the same as my husband, but I stubbornly believed that precisely because she was old enough to understand, she would appreciate my efforts all the more. I don't ask for her to repay us with great wealth when she grows up. Just a little understanding and care in daily life would make all my efforts feel worthwhile. Even a simple greeting would sweeten my heart. Little did I know that others' eyes were sharp and clear, while mine were blind and my heart foolish. On Saturday morning, my sister and I bought some fruit and bread, and under the pretense of showing kindness, we once again visited the children at the welfare home. Seeing the dozen or so young faces, I truly felt that I had come back to life. Why the sudden change of heart about adoption? I don't mean anything by it, but I just thought that girl was quite nice. Although she hasn't been here long, she seems well behaved. The director asked in surprise upon hearing we had changed our minds. Director, you're a sensible person, so I won't hide it from you. I'm hoping that in a few years, with advances in medical technology, I can have a child of my own. Please don't laugh at this old-fashioned thinking of us country folk. I pretended to be a little embarrassed and smiled. I see, I understand. I just feel sorry for this child. Her father passed away in an accident, and her mother took the compensation money and disappeared. She had to live with her grandparents, but they both passed away within 2 years of each other. We had no choice but to bring her here since we couldn't reach her mother. She has always been an excellent student. If you nurture her well, she will surely have a bright future. She will also remember your kindness. The director was only right about the first part. The second part was a misjudgment of character. The world is never short of ungrateful people. Many a butcher is a man of honor, while many a scholar is a heartless scoundrel. She belonged to the latter kind. I gazed through the window at that face, both familiar and strange. Her slender frame was paired with a round, cherubic face, and her high, delicate nose looked sweet and innocent in the sunlight. Yet I had learned all too well how heartless she could be. I remember clearly, in the second year after her graduation, when I saw other children her age getting engaged or married. I once called her, and it took a long time before she finally answered, "What's wrong again? If you have something to say, say it quickly, I'm very busy." The moment she opened her mouth, it was a voice filled with impatience and scolding. I thought my call had disturbed her work, and I felt guilty. "I'm sorry, Xiaoxi, did I interrupt your work? It's nothing much, I just wanted to ask if you have a boyfriend." "What, so eager to get your hands on my bride price money already?" This impatient voice deeply pierced my heart. It seemed as if every time I opened my mouth, it annoyed her, as if I had adopted her just for her dowry, for the few $1,000s she might toss my way after achieving success. There was no affection at all. That phone call was abruptly ended. Bride price money. I really want to laugh, but my tears are like a river with its floodgates opened, desperately gushing out. In other places, the bride price can indeed be as high as over 100,000 to several 100,000 yuan, but in our area, the bride price is only around 50 to 80,000 if any families' daughter receives an 88,000 bride price. Relatives and friends will be exclaiming, "Wow, wow, wow," in amazement for years. With this 88,000, as the bride's family, we still have to buy dowry, host the wedding banquet, and when the daughter and son-in-law return 3 days later, we take a bit of auspicious money from it to give as a return gift. In the end, if we have 20,000 left in hand, that's already considered a lot. So, I'm doing this for her dowry money. I also want to see if she can reach the heights of her previous life without the contributions of our family. Will she still have a loving, filial relationship with her biological mother? Gu Shi, this is the last time I'll call you that. In my past life, adopting you without your consent and raising you was my greatest mistake. In this life, without me, wherever you go and whatever you do, it will have nothing to do with our Gu family. I silently thought to myself, I never thought about getting revenge on her like in those cheesy rebirth dramas I watched in my past life. I'm just an ordinary housewife. Since heaven gave me a second chance, I must work even harder to live a happy life. Perhaps every time I see Gu Shi in the future, it will remind me of everything from my past life. That's the biggest discomfort for me. Director, what were those two aunties here for just now? Yaya asked the director, her voice tinged with unease. In truth, ever since she was brought to the orphanage, she had known that if they couldn't reach her mother, she might be adopted, but Yaya didn't want to be adopted at all. She still hoped to find her mother, the gentle mother she remembered from her memories. She must have had her reasons for leaving. Yaya often wondered if her mother would suddenly appear like in TV dramas, bringing delicious snacks, beautiful clothes, and gifts to take her away. She would also tell herself that her mother had a reason for leaving back then. If her mother showed up, she would reluctantly forgive her. Even if her mother had let other children say she had a mother who gave birth to her but didn't raise her, she would still forgive her. Unfortunately, television is just television after all. A year later, the police finally managed to contact her mother. Her mother explained that she had remarried and now had a son and a daughter of her own, making it impossible for her to take care of Yaya. The police stated that if that were the case, the portion of the compensation from Yaya's father that belonged to her would have to be handed over to the welfare institution for temporary management within a set time limit. Only then did her mother reluctantly bring Yaya to live with her. In fact, during the year spent searching for Yaya's mother, several groups of people had come to the welfare institution intending to adopt children, yet no one had ever considered Yaya. A child of this age already has memories and can clearly remember their birth family's address and information about their parents. In such cases, if you take the child back, they might either grow up grateful and show you care and concern in the future, or, once they grow up and no longer need to rely on you, they might turn their back on their benefactor as soon as they're able to stand on their own. Even one's own biological children can end up resenting their parents in old age, let alone a child like this. Raising them well doesn't guarantee gratitude. Every little disappointment was compared to the parents in her memory, and the kindness that was meant to nurture her had instead raised an enemy. Yaya didn't feel happy when she came to her mother's side. Over the past year, she spent her days at school and her nights at the orphanage. Did you hear? Yaya became an orphan? Really? Really? My mom said her grandparents passed away, and her mother remarried long ago after taking the money. Her uncles, aunts, and relatives are all struggling themselves. No one wants her. The place she used to live in belonged to her uncle, and now that her grandmother is gone, he took it back. She was sent to the orphanage. No wonder she didn't take the same route back and forth. That's a bit rough for her. Dahui from the next class is also an orphan. I heard she was married off by her brother right after finishing elementary school. What do you mean, married off? My mom said she was sold. Yaya often heard such remarks. From initially rushing out to fight with people to eventually becoming numb to it all, she secretly harbored resentment toward her mother in her heart. She worked even harder, and her already good grades improved to a higher level. Her homeroom teacher noticed her maturity and felt heartbroken for her. Besides preventing her classmates from bullying her, the teacher also brought her food from home and clothes that her own children had outgrown. Once during a holiday, the homeroom teacher brought some chicken-dropping vine glutinous rice cakes made by her mother-in-law from home. They were a deep, dark green color, different from the white glutinous rice cakes common in the area. She was worried that Yaya might not be used to it, so she specifically asked if she wanted some. Yaya thanked the teacher gratefully. When the teacher was checking the hygiene, she was stunned to see the rice cakes in the flower bed. Afraid of misunderstanding, she specifically called Yaya over to ask, "Yaya, were the rice cakes I gave you yesterday delicious? Were they sweet?" "Very sweet, I really liked them, thank you, teacher." Yaya's face was full of unease. The homeroom teacher could tell at a glance that she was lying, and hearing her answer only deepened his regret. This child had excellent grades, but her character was flawed. People from the teacher's hometown generally preferred salty flavors, so the filling in those glutinous rice cakes was not sweet at all. After that, Yaya clearly felt that the teacher no longer cared for her as much as before. She thought the teacher, like her classmates, looked down on her. She thought to herself, it was all an act after all. Last time, she even gave me those glutinous rice cakes that looked so dirty. Good thing I threw them away. Back at the shop, I looked at the various goods clearly marked with their prices. Suddenly, I remembered that around this time in my previous life, the landlord abruptly announced he was selling the house and asked me to move out as soon as possible. Later, I heard that his son had lost a huge sum of money gambling, and creditors had come knocking on their door. In his rush to sell, a house originally worth over 100,000 could be had for just 60,000. Moreover, in about 5 or 6 years, the nearby hills will be leveled to build a foreign language school covering kindergarten through high school. By then, the houses on these streets will become the top choice for parents accompanying their children to school and various snack shop owners. Landlords are like iron, tenants like flowing water. Guqiang, I heard the landlord is planning to sell this house, and I want to buy it. I've been running this convenience store here for so many years, and I've always relied on regular customers. If we move, we'll lose some of them right away. Besides, many of the newly built places have higher rents. Evenings are not just for marital harmony but also the perfect time to discuss important matters. That'll cost a lot, won't it? Didn't you say we'd have a child once we saved enough money? Why are you changing your mind so suddenly? My husband looked at me suspiciously. Yes, that would be a few years from now, when technology advances further and doctors have more experience, increasing our chances of success. I heard the landlord is in a hurry to sell this house cheaply. If it's not a good deal, we won't buy it. I saw my husband still hesitating and understood why. At that time, children in our third-tier city were attending schools in their respective districts, and parents had no awareness of buying homes in school zones. But as more and more children came to the city to study, rural schools were struggling to stay open. By the time the policy allowing one household to purchase one property was announced, housing prices near the school had long since skyrocketed. My cousin's father-in-law's younger sister's brother-in-law works in the Education Bureau. Insider info says the policy will change in a few years, followed by a torrent of chatter. I do have such a relative, but they have no idea who I am. Following the principle of relying on connections to get things done, trusting insider info for transactions, my husband began to waver. I thought to myself, let's add a bit more persuasion. Besides, if we buy it now, when the child is born, they can grow up by our side, and when we bring my parents out to help take care of the baby, they'll have a place to stay. In my heart, I thought, let my non-existent child first make their presence known to your dad. That makes sense, so you handle it as you see fit. Almost any man, when it comes to matters of offspring and parents, would be willing to take a chance. Speaking of children, let's first try going with the flow. Like wolves and tigers, the red quilt fluttered wildly. With diligent efforts and a room full of spring colors, "Boss lady, give me half a kilo of peanuts," the landlady said with a weary face in the morning. Sisterly, you're making me blush with that kind of talk. What boss lady? It's just a small business, that's all. That's half a kilo and 50 grams, but you can just pay for half a kilo. Sisterly, you don't look too well. Did you not rest properly last night? Customers don't always have to take advantage, but you have to make them feel like they're getting a deal. It's like two stores selling the same thing. One charges 20 yuan, the other $19.99. Most people would instinctively go to the $19.99 section to buy, which is essentially just a penny, but customers all feel like they've gotten that cheap penny. Boss lady, another customer arrived. Thank you then, you go ahead and get busy. Seeing how busy I was, Sister Lee hesitated for a moment but still didn't state her purpose so early in the morning. Guqiang, you watch the shop first. I'm going to Sister Lee's place for a bit. As soon as my husband got off work in the afternoon, I grabbed some dried bean curd sticks and headed to Sister Lee's. I had to hurry. In my past life, the house was already sold before the news even got out. Sister Lee, last time you mentioned wanting to buy some, but we happened to be out of stock. This just arrived, so I brought a bit for you to try. You're in business, keep it to sell for money. Here, have a glass of water first. Sister Lee declined while handing me a glass of water. Sister Lee, here's this month's rent, take a look. There are so many counterfeit bills around lately. I placed 200 yuan on the table as I spoke. Sister Lee moistened her finger with saliva and rubbed it on the money to make sure it wasn't counterfeit before tucking it into her pocket. Yang, I was just about to tell you, I'm selling this house, so you'll need to find a new place to move into as soon as possible. Why so sudden? I feigned surprise as I asked. It's all because of my useless son. Who knows when he racked up so much debt? The debt collectors are already at our door, threatening and shouting. Sister Lee couldn't help but feel a wave of sorrow wash over her. Sister Lee, how much are you planning to sell this house for? I didn't beat around the bush. You've rented this place for years, so you know it well. The location is unbeatable, and the foot traffic is strong. Just look at the crowds coming and going every day. 70,000, firm price, and I want the full amount in cash. When it came to money, Sister Lee was especially resolute. I understood that this was her real price. In my past life, it was 10,000 cheaper, probably because others knew she needed the money urgently and wanted it all in cash. Sister Lee, you know my husband and I don't have any children yet, so we've managed to save a bit. My business may look good, but the profits are actually very slim. Besides, this house is a bit old. I know your price is fair, so let's just pretend I never asked. I put on a troubled expression. Well, that's a shame. I'm offering this price because we're old acquaintances and you're always so straightforward. You can go check the market rates. Sister Lee didn't mince words either. I never expected to settle the deal in one go anyway, so I left Sister Lee's house with a look of regret. Sister Yang, 65,000. If you're really interested in this house, that's the price. A few days later, Sister Lee came straight to the point when she found me. Sister Lee, that vegetable garden next to your house seems to belong to your family too, right? Could you include it? My in-laws really enjoy growing vegetables in their spare time. Sister Lee was taken aback, clearly so flustered that she had forgotten about the vegetable garden. Fine, that was originally. Never mind, I'll give it all to you, but I need the money by tomorrow afternoon, the full amount, not a penny less. Striking while the iron was hot, we went the very next morning to transfer the house ownership. We also had the neighbors along the boundaries of the vegetable garden sign and fingerprint documents confirming its ownership, area, and boundaries on all four sides. Right then and there, we marked the boundaries with cement mixed with sand and stones. Years later, many people would fight tooth and nail over ownership and boundary disputes, their heads nearly bashed in like dogs' brains. With the property deed in hand, my heart finally settled. With my eldest grandson as the main attraction, it didn't take much to persuade my in-laws to come live nearby. My father-in-law found a job as a security guard during the day, while my mother-in-law filled the vegetable garden with all kinds of crops and placed them on a table by the shop entrance every morning to sell alongside our other goods. At that time, the clothing business was quite profitable, and there were no city management restrictions on where we could set up our stalls. Every so often, I would go to the clothing wholesale market to stock up and set up a stall right outside our shop. Both my mother-in-law and I could mind the store and sell clothes at the same time. In this life, without Gu Shi, our whole family was working hard toward the same goal. What goal? Of course, the goal of making money to support future generations. With the experience from my past life, I paid special attention to everyone's health, focusing on diet and scheduling annual checkups. In the blink of an eye, 7 years had passed. During these 7 years, I took advantage of low prices to gradually purchase many vacant plots around, and even bought a small hill behind the vegetable garden. I took out a loan to buy the building next door, and my husband, seeing me as if possessed, frantically acquiring land, couldn't help but advise me, buying so much land can't be eaten. Wouldn't it be better to put the extra money in the bank and earn interest? having money on hand gives peace of mind, and you keep talking about having a child. At this moment, I once again brought up my cousin's father-in-law's younger sister's brother-in-law to build trust. Really, my husband asked, half believing, half doubting. Really, they've been promoted again over the years, blah blah blah. He finally believed it. The factory is going to shut down, and the compensation might be over 100,000. That day, her husband unexpectedly came home early from work. That's actually a pretty good outcome. It's the perfect time to take a break. With over 100,000, we can go to the provincial capital to see about getting our health in order. Her husband's disappointment over his impending unemployment was immediately drawn in by these words. It costs over 100,000, that expensive, probably. I've been going back and forth to the provincial capital for supplies these years and have inquired about it. If things go smoothly, it won't cost that much, and twins would be even more expensive. The compensation money came quickly, not as much as others had said, but it was still a little over 100,000. It should be enough to have a child. After a series of examinations, both husband and wife had their bodies adjusted to the best condition, and finally, the embryo successfully implanted. The physical and psychological stress during that time is beyond words. For the first 3 months of my pregnancy, I spent most of my time lying in bed. This was the child I had longed for across 2 lifetimes, and no amount of hardship could diminish my joy. The entire family was on edge. But we finally breathed a complete sigh of relief once the baby was safely born, holding my tiny newborn son in my arms, looking at his adorably funny little face. I felt a profound connection, a sense of pride that he was truly my own. Even more convinced, raising a child must be one you give birth to yourself. At this moment, she had completely broken free from the trajectory of her past life, but at this moment, Yaya was not sitting in a high school classroom, buried in practice questions for the final sprint toward the college entrance exam, nor did she have the carefully prepared meals and soups I made for her every day. After class, you said you were just married before, so why are you bringing back such a big child now? As Yaya followed her mother into their new home, she was met with her stepfather's angry questioning. Standing beside her were her half-siblings, a brother 2 years younger and a sister 3 years younger. Husband, let me explain later, Yaya said, looking at her mother, who hadn't once asked if she was hungry or thirsty during the entire journey. Her mother, who had been expressionless while leading her, now wore a look of embarrassment and panic. So, she was not welcome here. Yaya's arrival plunged the family into a whirlwind of gossip, making them increasingly unwelcoming toward her. There was no outright abuse like in TV dramas, only indifference, a kind of cold violence. When the villagers mentioned her, they would say, "Oh, that one who was brought back, the one from the previous marriage, that stepdaughter." Yaya stopped her education after finishing the 9th grade of compulsory education. Her once outstanding grades couldn't keep up initially when she moved to another place due to differences in curriculum and language barriers. Later, she realized that no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't shake off the label of the stepdaughter, and gradually gave up. She dropped out of middle school and went straight to work, but she always felt as if she had lost something very important. She also always felt that she shouldn't live her life this way, so, when it came to choosing a partner, she subconsciously chose a boyfriend from her hometown. After getting to know him and feeling that he was decent enough, she married him. Year later, exhausted in the delivery room, she gave birth to a baby girl and fell into a deep sleep. She had a long dream, in which her life took a completely different turn starting from the orphanage. In the dream, she became a decisive and capable female executive at a Fortune 500 company, with a close relationship with her stepfather and mother's family, who showered her with unprecedented care and attention. Waking up to the discomfort of postpartum life made her realize that this was her real existence. In the dream, she had never married. She left only her name in the Gu family's household register, never seeing them again until her death. The money and time they had spent on her were what she deserved. This was her revenge on that family for adopting her. She once firmly believed, if they hadn't adopted her, she would have been better off, but now, without the adoption and sacrifices of the Gu family, she would be nothing. Yaya suspected her adoptive mother had been reborn. After all, everything changed from the moment she didn't take her back. After her postpartum confinement, she went alone to the address from her memory, but everything had changed. Indeed, in the dream, all she saw were old, dilapidated buildings. Now, the neighboring high school district has been completed, bringing in many tenants and students in uniforms. Many of the buildings here are brand new. She noticed a bustling figure in a small shop with a steady stream of customers. When that figure turned around, she instinctively hid. Compared to the dream, her foster mother's face looked younger and more prosperous. At that moment, two elderly people walked back side by side from outside, one pushing a stroller, the other holding a fair and chubby child. "Mommy, Mommy," the child reached out to me, and I took him in my arms. Kissing his cheek. "Did you have fun with great-grandma? Play, good," my son's tender voice responded to me. Yaya was thunderstruck when she heard the child call me Mom. Did they already have their own child? In the dream, they had also discussed with her whether to adopt another younger brother, so that she would have a sibling by her side after she got married. It was only because of her strong opposition that they gave up the idea, as Yaya didn't want an extra burden in the future. She refused to spend her future life not only supporting her adoptive parents but also raising their child. Yaya felt a bitter taste filling her mouth. After the rush hour passed, she went to eat at a nearby fast food restaurant and asked the owner about it. This was a face she had seen in her dreams. "Boss, your braised pork is delicious, fat but not greasy. The pickled vegetables taste especially authentic." Yaya gave a thumbs up. "Of course, that's my specialty dish. Everyone who's tried it says it's great." After a bit of polite back and forth, Yaya casually brought it up. "I noticed the owner of the small shop next door is quite old, but it seems like a little kid called her Mom." Asking about the child, the shop owner glared at her with a fierce, wary look. "Don't get me wrong, I know this shop owner. I heard she couldn't have children before, so I was just curious and asked." Seeing the shop owner didn't believe her, she even mentioned the address of their hometown and the names of her family members. "Oh, you scared me. I thought it was a human trafficker. It's her son, conceived through artificial insemination a few years ago. I heard it cost over 100,000. Back then, 100,000 was nothing to scoff at, but it was worth it to have a son." The landlady sighed in dialect. 100,000, that's so much money. Her husband's job paid for it. She's a landlady now. These 3 buildings nearby are all hers. Even if she broke her leg, she wouldn't have to worry. Back then, it was cheap. If only I had known, I would have bought one too." The landlady lamented her missed opportunity. Heartbroken. "Mom, I'm back," Yaya said to me in a trembling voice. "Mom, miss, you've got the wrong person. I don't have a daughter, and besides, I couldn't have given birth to a daughter as old as you." I pretended to be both amused and exasperated as I looked at the familiar face before me. "Mom, I'm Gushi," Yaya said urgently. "What Gushi or not? Young lady, you must have the wrong person, right?" I handed her a bottle of water with a look of pity on my face, muttering in a voice loud enough for her to hear, "Such a pretty face, but what a shame she's not all there in the head. What a pity, what a pity." Watching Yaya's dejected retreating figure, "It seems that without us, she's nothing at all." Admitting it is out of the question. Let her guess. Keep the achievements hidden and the name unknown. "Hey, beautiful, check out the driving school's special offer. Just 5,500 and you can get your license." A flyer was shoved into Yaya's hand. In her dream, right after the college entrance exam, she had gotten her car driver's license just like all her classmates. In reality, she had never even ridden a motorcycle. It belonged to her stepfather. She didn't even have the right to touch it. Everyone else could ride it, only she couldn't. She had nothing without them, yet they lived happily without her. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comment section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My husband was in a car accident, resulting in the amputation of his left leg and left arm. His first love immediately distanced herself from him after seeing his condition. My husband harbored resentment toward me, complaining about why I had signed the surgery consent form. He said that if I hadn't agreed to the surgery at the time, there might still have been hope to save his arm and leg later. While I was asleep, he turned on the gas, ending both our lives together. Fortunately, I've been reborn. This time, I'll do as he said and refuse to consent to his surgery. If he wants to die, I won't stop him, but he can forget about dragging me down with him again. I received a call from the hospital, informing me that my husband, Yang Yuntian, had been in a serious car accident and urging me to come immediately. I readily agreed, saying I'd be right there, but after hanging up the phone, I had absolutely no intention of moving. Instead, I turned on a variety show to watch while eating the luxurious Japanese takeout that had just been delivered. I wasn't worried at all that my delay would affect my husband's treatment, because this was the second time I'd been through all this in my previous life. After receiving a call from the hospital, I rushed there in a hurry. The doctor told me that the vehicle driven by Yang Yuntian had collided with a large truck, causing the truck to overturn. Yang Yuntian's left side had been crushed by heavy objects for an extended period, and amputation was the only way to save his life. Faced with the choice between living with disabilities and dying whole, I decisively chose the former. After an 8-hour surgery, Yang Yuntian was successfully saved. However, he lost his left leg and left arm in the process, but Yang Yuntian couldn't accept this outcome. He blamed me for meddling. He said doctors always exaggerate the severity of illnesses, insisting that he could have survived even without the amputation. My mother-in-law, Zhao Hohat, chimed in, claiming that doctors have performance targets and that amputating patients allows them to charge more for surgeries and treatments. She insisted I had been completely deceived. Because of this incident, Yang Yuntian held a grudge against me ever since, especially after his beloved Liang Ranran saw him in that state and was so frightened she turned pale. She immediately cut ties with Yang Yuntian and then vanished without a trace. After that, Yang Yuntian became even more irritable. He told me that he had finally waited for Liang Ranran to get divorced, and he finally had the chance to know and be with her. Unfortunately, all of this was ruined by me. I understood that Yang Yuntian had just undergone an amputation and was in a bad mood, so I didn't argue with him. I just told him to calm down. If he wanted to divorce me, I could also grant him that. Unexpectedly, what I waited for was neither forgiveness nor divorce papers. Instead, it was Yang Yuntian's decision to end both our lives together. I died from carbon monoxide poisoning. Now that I've been given a second chance at life, I certainly won't be making things difficult for myself again. Yang Yuntian said that if I hadn't agreed to the surgery back then, he could have survived just fine. Well then, I'll be waiting to see how that turns out. I'm going to see for myself whether modern medicine is more reliable, or if Yang Yuntian's arrogance holds up better. He's the type who won't admit defeat until he's staring at his own coffin. And then there's my mother-in-law, Zhao Hohat, who keeps saying I lack life experience and am easily fooled. This time, I won't step in. I'll let her, the seasoned veteran, handle everything. Let's see if she can actually succeed in outsmarting a scam. After finishing my meal, I saw I still had plenty of time to spare, so I went and enjoyed a nice long nap. I woke up and checked my phone, and sure enough, there were 99 plus missed calls, all from Zhao Hohat. I figured the timing was about right, so I gave myself a deliberately disheveled makeup look and took a taxi to the hospital. My appearance was so striking that even the taxi driver asked if I had been beaten up and whether he should call the police for me. I said, no need, the person who hit me is in the hospital being resuscitated and probably won't make it. The driver even comforted me, saying, evil will be repaid with evil, your days will get better from now on. I said, yes, I think so too. When I arrived at the hospital ward, I saw Yang Yuntian lying motionless on the bed, and my mother-in-law, Zhao Hohat, was weeping bitterly beside him. It seems Yang Yuntian has achieved his wish of preferring death over amputation. He successfully kept his arms and legs intact, going to meet the king of hell in one piece. Seeing Yang Yuntian's lifeless face, I felt an indescribable sense of relief in my heart. Rounding it off, I can say I helped him fulfill his wish. How can this not be considered a form of helping others? Upon seeing me, Zhao Hohat briefly stopped her crying. She shouted at me accusingly, you jinx, why did you take so long? Did you do it on purpose, trying to kill your husband? Your husband was in a car accident, and instead of rushing to the hospital to take care of him, where did you run off to? I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand, which I had rubbed with chilly water, and said with immense sorrow, I was going to drive over, but my car broke down halfway. I couldn't get a taxi the whole way, so I had to walk on my own 2 feet, but I didn't get far before I tripped and fell. My knee was scraped, my ankle twisted, so I walked a bit slower. Zhao Hohat said, do you know, because you didn't come, no one could sign the surgery consent form for my son, so he died without timely surgery. It's you who killed him. I asked in confusion, Mom, haven't you been at the hospital all along? Couldn't you have signed the surgery consent form too? Why didn't you sign it? Yuntian is your own son. Tell me, did you deliberately want to kill him? My mother-in-law argued, you're talking nonsense. How could I possibly want to kill my own son? I said, then what was the reason? Why didn't you sign the surgery consent form for Yuntian? Poor Yuntian, he was killed by his own mother like this. The onlookers who had been watching nearby couldn't help but speak up. Your mother-in-law said there was no need for amputation at all, and that it would heal with some rest. She also claimed the doctor was just trying to make money by exaggerating the consequences and deliberately scaring her. She said she wouldn't sign, and she wanted to see what the hospital could do about it. Zhao Hohat said, he's lying, the doctor never told me I had to sign, or that my son would die if I didn't. It's all their fault for not explaining clearly. It's these people at the hospital who conspired to kill my son." A nurse stepped forward. "I expected this. As soon as something went wrong, you turn around and shift all the blame onto our hospital. When you said those things, we recorded the entire conversation. You can't twist the truth with just a few words." After saying that, the nurse even opened her phone and played Zhao Hohat's unreasonable and outrageous remarks. I threw myself at Yang Yuntian's hospital bed, shaking his lifeless body and weeping bitterly. "Yuntian, your life was so tragic, to think you were killed by your own mother's ignorance. She was always unreasonable and stubborn before. You said there are no parents in the world who are completely wrong, and asked me to endure it. How could I have imagined that my concessions would ultimately lead to her taking your life?" I was still putting on a vigorous performance when I heard a gasp from the crowd. It turned out that Zhao Hohat had fainted. Actually, Zhao Hohat had always suffered from high blood pressure. She was already devastated by her son's death, and then she was suddenly accused of causing it. It was only natural that she couldn't bear the shock and fainted. The doctor quickly administered first aid to her and then said to me, "The patient is suspected of having a cerebral hemorrhage and may be paralyzed. You need to be mentally prepared." I stood there in a daze, momentarily unsure how to react. The onlookers praised me for being affectionate and righteous, saying that even though my husband had died because of my mother-in-law, I was still so heartbroken upon hearing she was ill. In truth, they were all mistaken. It wasn't heartbreak I felt, it was shock, because I saw a translucent Yang Yuntian kneeling on the ground, holding Zhao Hohat and weeping bitterly. If it weren't for the fact that Yang Yuntian's corpse was lying right there on the bed, I would have thought he had come back to life. So what's going on now? Did I shake Yang Yuntian's corpse too hard just now and shake his soul out, causing it to condense into a ghost? And from the reactions of the others, it seems they can't see Yang Yuntian's ghost or hear his voice. Haha, things seem to be getting interesting. While Zhao Hohat was hospitalized for treatment, I quickly called the crematorium and asked them to hurry and take Yang Yuntian's body away for cremation. After Yang Yuntian's body was pushed into the incinerator, a staff member told me to go choose an urn. I went through the motions of looking at the prices of the urns, then said to them, "No need to buy one, I have one ready here." Then I raised the takeout container I was holding in my hand. I said, "You don't understand, my late husband loved takeout more than anything." I put his ashes in a takeout container so he'd feel more at home. Upon hearing my words, even the seasoned crematorium staff couldn't hide their shocked expressions. After realizing I wasn't joking, they stammered, "This container is too small. I'm afraid it won't hold everything." I replied, "That's fine, just put in as much as you can, we can discard the rest." After Yang Yuntian was reduced to ashes, I took the takeout container and went to the waiting room. When I entered, I saw Yang Yuntian's ghost weeping over his own ashes. If I hadn't wanted to keep him from knowing I could see his ghost, I would have cursed him out right then and there. Wasn't it him who said one should live with dignity, or else it's better to die? So what's he being so sentimental about now? Forget it, I'll just ignore him and get on with what I need to do. Yang Yuntian was right there, feeling heartbroken, and when he saw the takeout container in my hand, he started cursing loudly. "Ji Qing'a, you wicked woman, how could you use something like this to hold my ashes?" I paid him no mind and went ahead, carefully picking through his ashes and placing them into the container. The staff member wasn't wrong, this box really couldn't hold everything. As for the remaining ashes, I simply asked the staff to help me dispose of them. When I came out with the ashes, I was surprised to find that Yang Yuntian's ghost was missing an arm and a leg, precisely the left side. What a coincidence. So the ashes I just threw away happened to be his injured left leg and left hand. It truly seems that fate works in mysterious ways. Looking at it this way, Yang Yuntian's ghost must stay close to his ashes, and it's even divided according to the parts of the ashes. Who would have thought that Yang Yuntian couldn't be a complete person while alive? And now he can't even be a complete ghost after death. I wonder if he regrets the choices he made back then. Yang Yuntian, now with only one leg, could only hop along, and because he wasn't used to it, he fell several times. I deliberately slowed my pace to wait for him. After all, this ghost of his is quite useful to me. After leaving the crematorium, I didn't go home or back to the hospital. Instead, I went straight to Liang Ranran's house. I have a score to settle. After all, Liang Ranran's residence was actually provided by Yang Yuntian. After her divorce, Liang Ranran was left homeless. As her devoted admirer, Yang Yuntian naturally offered up his own house without hesitation. However, that property was purchased after Yang Yuntian and I got married, so any transaction involving its ownership would require my consent. As a result, the property transfer was never completed. And the house remains under Yang Yuntian's name. The house under Yang Yuntian's name, isn't that just my house? Of course, I have the right to handle it however I see fit. The door lock on the house is still the same one as before, but the passcode was changed long ago, but that's no problem. When I left home, I had already brought along the mechanical key for that door lock. I used the key to open the door. My only purpose in coming here is to find the gold bars hidden by Yang Yuntian. Ever since Liang Ranran got divorced, she has been entangled with Yang Yuntian. Liang Ranran was the unattainable white moonlight of Yang Yuntian's youth, and he quickly made his choice between her and me. However, he didn't want me to take half of his assets, so he secretly transferred his property, converting that money into many gold bars and hiding them with Liang Ranran. He was just waiting to finalize the divorce with me before taking out that money. Unfortunately, before he could successfully divorce me, he was involved in a car accident. In her previous life, Liang Ranran, upon seeing Yang Yuntian reduced to such a wretched state, immediately backed out and cut all ties with him. However, she kept the matter of the gold bars to herself, taking them all for her own. Yang Yuntian, immersed in grief, naturally didn't think to pursue it, and Liang Ranran effortlessly achieved financial freedom. This time, I won't let her have her way. I'll find the gold bars ahead of time and move them. As for how to find the gold bars, I'm not worried at all. This house is only so big. Even if I have to dig 3 feet into the ground, I'll find them in 2 or 3 days. But now, I don't have to go through all that trouble, because I have the cheat code of Yang Yuntian's ghost. Ever since entering this room, Yang Yuntian has become extremely nervous. He must be very eager to leave all those gold bars to Liang Ranran, which is why he's afraid I might discover them. He doesn't realize I can see him, so he keeps circling around a wardrobe in the bedroom, wanting to open its door but unable to touch anything physical. It seems those gold bars are hidden inside this wardrobe. I deliberately rummage around here and there, then pretend to open that wardrobe by chance. I searched every corner of the wardrobe but couldn't find any trace of the gold bars. Fortunately, Yang Yuntian served as a helpful hint. He kept muttering that the secret compartment in this wardrobe was exceptionally well crafted, and I would definitely never find it. A secret compartment. If he hadn't mentioned it, I might have truly missed it, but since he did, I quickly noticed that one of the drawers had irregular dimensions. The interior dimensions of this drawer were much smaller than they appeared from the outside, so I knocked on it and discovered there was another layer beneath that drawer. When I opened it, a dazzling golden light instantly flooded my vision. Gold bars, each weighing 1 kilogram. There were a full 100 of them here. I quickly pulled out the travel bag I had with me and loaded all those gold bars inside. As for Yang Yuntian's ashes, I certainly didn't have the extra energy to take them, so I simply left them there. It was just as well, since he had been cursing and grumbling non-stop there, and I didn't want to listen to it anyway. Normally, going to the gym and lifting 100 pounds feels like it's going to kill me, but now, carrying 200 pounds of gold bars, I was practically flying. I took the gold bars home and stored them in the safe. Then I contacted a moving company, gave them Liang Ranran's address, and asked them to get there as quickly as possible. For this, I even went so far as to add a 30% service fee. By the time Liang Ranran returned home that night, her belongings had already been mostly cleared out. Liang Ranran stopped the moving workers, urging them to halt immediately. Who are you? What right do you have to move my things? Do you even know this is illegal trespassing? I'm going to call the police and have you arrested. I walked out of the room and said, your personal belongings are in my house. You're the one trespassing, okay? Liang Ranran shouted loudly, you're lying. This is clearly my home. The neighbors around here can all testify to that. I held up the property deed and said to her, see, the property owner is Yang Yuntian. Then I took out the marriage certificate. Look, I am Yang Yuntian's lawfully wedded wife, the kind recognized by the law. No matter how you look at it, this house has nothing to do with you. You keep saying the house is yours. Do you have any proof? Liang Ranran said, Ji Chinga, just because you can't keep your man under control, you have to take it out on me. This house was lent to me by Yang Yuntian, so it's mine. I said, Yang Yuntian isn't crazy. Why would he lend the house to you? Liang Ranran said, because I'm the one Yang Yuntian has liked for many years. I scoffed disdainfully. You say it is, so it is. You really have some nerve. Humph, Ji Chinga, don't get too smug. I'm calling Yuntian right now. If he finds out how you're bullying me, he'll definitely teach you a harsh lesson. With that, she dialed Yang Yuntian's number. The call went straight to voicemail. I said, no need to call, Yang Yuntian is right here. As I spoke, I raised the takeout box in my hand containing Yang Yuntian's ashes. Here, it's all in here. Well, actually, not all of it, the box was too small, so I just threw away the parts that didn't fit. Liang Ranran slapped the packaging box out of my hand. Ji Chinga. No wonder Yuntian always says you're narrow-minded. Is it just because Yuntian often cares about me that you're jealous? But how could you curse your own husband to die? I glanced at the urn that had fallen to the ground, then looked at Yang Yuntian, whose soul had just trembled several times. Fortunately, this packaging box had a lid, so the ashes inside didn't spill out. Otherwise, Yang Yuntian's ghost might have lost another part of itself. I took out another document I had prepared in advance. This is Yang Yuntian's death certificate. Take a good look at the name and date, and you'll know whether what I'm saying is true or not. Upon seeing the death certificate, Liang Ranran finally realized I wasn't joking. However, she didn't grieve over Yang Yuntian's death. Instead, she thought of the gold bars hidden in her room. Ji Chinga, I can return the house to you, but I must retrieve the items inside. You have no right to dispose of my personal belongings, I said. I haven't disposed of anything. All your belongings are in the moving company's truck, not a single item missing. If you want them, you'd better hurry. I only paid the moving company for 1 day of storage. If it goes over, you'll have to cover the extra costs yourself. Of course, if you don't believe me, you can go in and check right now to see if any of your personal items are still inside. Hearing this, Liang Ranran immediately rushed in, heading straight for the large wardrobe where the gold bars were hidden. Of course, she found nothing. Ignoring Liang Ranran's curses, I drove her out and locked the door with the new heavy chain I had just bought. Yang Yuntian, who had witnessed the whole scene, kept cursing at me too, calling me vicious, cunning, and ruthless. He just repeated the same few words over and over. I was already tired of hearing them. Once I got home, I tossed his ashes into the storage room and shut the door. Yang Yuntian's ghost couldn't open the door, so he was trapped there. I could finally have some peace and quiet, but my peaceful days didn't last long. The very next day, the police came knocking. It was Liang Ranran who reported the case, accusing me of stealing her things. I said, "Officer, I've been terribly wronged. That apartment was bought with my husband and I's marital assets, including all the furniture inside. For some unknown reason, Liang Ranran has been living there for free, and that's one thing. But how could she have the nerve to make such false accusations? She claims my husband let her live there rent-free, but my husband has passed away, so there's no way to verify that now. But I don't intend to pursue it any further. I didn't even ask her to pay back rent for the time she lived there. I just asked her to move out. I think I've been more than reasonable," the police officer said. "MSG, regardless of the reason, you cleared out Liang Ranran's belongings. Now that her things are missing, we need to file a case for investigation. We hope you can cooperate," I replied. "Cooperate? I absolutely will." When I moved, I hired a professional moving company that provides full video recording services. If you don't believe me, you can check the surveillance footage at the moving company. "I really didn't take Liang Ranran's things," Liang Ranran said. "If you were going to steal, you definitely wouldn't do it when there were a lot of people around. You could have easily gone to my place first, stolen the items, and then had the moving company come. How could the moving company's video possibly capture what you took before they even arrived?" I asked, after all this talk. "What exactly did you lose?" Liang Ranran said. "Gold bars, a full 100 kilograms of gold bars," I said. "Liang Ranran, as far as I know, you left with nothing when you divorced your ex-husband. Both your parents are ordinary salaried workers. How could you possibly have so many gold bars? You can't file a false report just to frame me. Your actions are a serious waste of police resources," Liang Ranran said. "I'm not lying. I really did lose 100 kilograms of gold bars," I said. "You say it is. So it is. Why should I believe you? How about you show me the purchase receipts and payment records for those gold bars? If your items are truly missing, I'm willing to cooperate with the investigation, but if you can't produce any evidence, then it means you're lying and deceiving people. You deliberately filed a false report just to frame me." Liang Ranran was left speechless, because she simply couldn't produce the purchase receipts or payment records for those gold bars. All those gold bars were purchased through Yang Yuntian, and because he was afraid they would be traced during the division of assets, none of those gold bars were bought through legitimate channels. Even if Yang Yuntian himself were to come, he wouldn't be able to produce a purchase receipt. Seeing Liang Ranran stammering and unable to provide any evidence, the police immediately realized that she was lying. Liang Ranran was severely reprimanded by the police officers. They also warned her that if it happened Again, she would be detained to teach her a lesson. Liang Ranran said to me resentfully, I know you took that money, just wait, I won't let this go. It wasn't long before I found out what Liang Ranran meant by not letting things go. She pushed my paralyzed mother-in-law and came to my house together. Although Zhao Hohot was paralyzed, her speech was unaffected. She said, Ji Qinga, Ranran is already pregnant with Yuntian's child. You need to transfer all of Yuntian's money to Ranran's name immediately and also transfer the house titles to her. This child is the only bloodline of Yuntian left. All of Yuntian's belongings must be handed over to her. This way, even if I die, I can rest in peace. I looked at Liang Ranran's belly, a skeptical expression on my face. This didn't happen in my previous life. Was it Liang Ranran from the previous life who deceived Yang Yuntian? Or is it Liang Ranran in this life who is deceiving Zhao Hohot? But none of that matters anymore. Whether this child truly exists or not, he won't gain any advantage from it. I said, Mom, don't let yourself be deceived. How can you prove that the child she's carrying is Yuntian's? Have you done a paternity test between this child and Yuntian? Liang Ranran said, Yang Yuntian has already been cremated by you. What am I supposed to use for the test? I said, so you have no evidence to prove it, but it's fine, I don't really care. If you say so, then so be it, Zhao Hohot said, at least you know what's good for you. Now hurry up and hand over Yuntian's assets. I said, Mom, I've been holding back from telling you this, but Yuntian actually didn't leave any money behind. Zhao Hohot yelled, how is that possible? My son ran such a big company, how could he have no money? Don't think you can take advantage of me just because I can't walk right now. If you know what's good for you, hand over the money right now, or I'll take you to court. I said, no need to go through all that trouble. Actually, the lawyer has been looking for you all along. I just thought, since you were still in the hospital, I should let you rest properly, so I didn't have the lawyer bother you. Now that you're out of the hospital, you should go see the lawyer as soon as possible. By the way, I've already signed a statement renouncing my inheritance from Yang Yuntian's estate. I don't want to take on all that debt just for a small inheritance. If you want to inherit Yang Yuntian's estate, you'd better hurry up. I don't care how you split it, I won't be taking any part of it anyway, Liang Ranran said. Don't think you can scare us by saying that. Let me tell you, I'm determined to get Yuntian's estate. Even if he really owed money, I'll help repay it. I can't let Yang Yuntian be remembered as someone who lacked integrity, even in death. I won't allow him to leave behind a tarnished reputation. With that, the two troublemakers stormed off, as if they had already achieved their goal. So they don't believe me when I say Yang Yuntian's debts outweigh his assets. It shouldn't be like this. Zhao Hohot might not know the actual situation, but how could Liang Ranran be unaware? To hide his assets, Yang Yuntian had long transferred his company's shares and even fabricated fake loan documents. Now, he only has 2 properties left under his name, but there's still not enough to cover his debts. To inherit the estate, one must first take on the debts, and the visible debts far exceed the value of the inheritance. Only someone out of their mind would want to inherit Yang Yuntian's estate. But I'm different. With 100 kilograms of gold bars in hand, why would I wade into that muddy water? How I wish Liang Ranran and Zhao Hohot would have a sudden brain malfunction and choose to inherit the estate, so that those two would be bound together forever, living a life of utter misery. Unfortunately, Liang Ranran is a person with a sound mind. As soon as she realized there was no advantage left for her to exploit, she immediately ran off. Before fleeing, she didn't even bother to send her immobile comrade back home. I received a call from the lawyer asking me to come pick up Zhao Hohot, and I couldn't help but feel a tinge of regret. I went to fetch Zhao Hohot, though I was far from willing. Such a dramatic scene shouldn't be enjoyed by me alone, so I brought along Yang Yuntian's ashes, let him experience firsthand the heartlessness of the woman he loved so dearly. When I arrived at the law firm, I saw Zhao Hohot waiting right outside the entrance. The lawyer explained to me, we originally wanted her to wait inside, but she kept cursing, accusing us of stealing her son's money, and it was disturbing the other clients. Also, she has limited mobility and can't go to the bathroom on her own, so the smell is just too strong, and the room isn't well ventilated. We really had no other choice. I said, I understand, I don't blame you. By the way, what about that Liang Ranran who came with my mother-in-law? Didn't she say she was going to help my husband pay off his debts? How come she ran off? The lawyer said, it's not exactly running away. After all, before she left, she threatened us, saying that Yang Yuntian's assets and debts don't match up and accusing us of embezzling his money. She said she would find another lawyer to sue us. I don't know how she calculated it, But how did she conclude that the assets and liabilities don't match up? The lawyer's words gave me an idea. I stared at Yang Yuntian's ghost for a long time. I think Yang Yuntian might have left me some other surprises. However, I noticed something strange about Zhao Hohot. Since I arrived, she hasn't spoken a word. If her eyes weren't still moving, I would have thought she was dead. I pushed the foul-smelling Zhao Hohot to the hospital. Taking a car was out of the question. No driver would be willing to take us. Fortunately, the hospital wasn't far. After examining Zhao Hohot, the doctor told me that she had suffered a shock that worsened her condition, and she had already lost her ability to speak. Although Liang Ranran had run away, I, as a kind and considerate daughter-in-law, would never leave my mother-in-law to sleep on the streets alone, but expecting me to personally take care of her was impossible. I simply hired an open-top truck and hauled Zhao Hohot back to her hometown. The house in our hometown was funded by us and was just renovated a couple of years ago. The living conditions are still quite good, I said to Zhao Hohot. Mom, even though Yuntian is gone, I don't have any obligation to take care of you, but I'm not the kind of person who's lost their conscience. Don't worry, as long as I have a bite to eat, you'll have a sip of porridge. But you also know that Yuntian owed a lot of debt. The house we're living in now has to be sold immediately to pay off the debts, and we'll be forced to move out. Fortunately, this house in our hometown is still under your name, so you can live here for as long as you want. Although the medical facilities here are a bit lacking, the living environment is still quite good. We can't just sit around and eat through our savings. I still need to go out and earn money. Besides, I'm clumsy and afraid I won't be able to take good care of you, so I've decided to hire someone diligent to come help. I don't trust strangers either. I think we should find someone we know. How about Yang Yuntian's eldest aunt? You two have been sisters-in-law for so many years, you must have a good relationship. With her taking care of you, I'll feel at ease. Zhao Hohot let out a muffled whimper. I deliberately said, I knew you'd be happy. Yang Yuntian's aunt is notoriously lazy, and she and Zhao Hohot have had countless arguments over the years. A phrase she often says is, don't let the day come when you fall into my hands. It just goes to show that one should always have dreams, and now, the opportunity has arrived. Under her aunt's care, Zhao Hohot was visibly wasting away day by day. At first, my aunt would feel a bit embarrassed when she saw me, but later, when she realized I never questioned her actions, she gradually understood my stance. After all, in the years following my marriage to Yang Yuntian, Zhao Hohot had dutifully played the role of the wicked mother-in-law. It goes without saying that I harbored no affection for her. I made an agreement with my aunt. I would pay her a monthly salary of 3,000 yuan and prepaid her for half a year in advance. After handling everything, I went home. Of course, I took Yang Yuntian's ashes with me. Along the way, Yang Yuntian's ghost kept chattering non-stop. You took so many gold bars. You clearly have money. Why did you lie to my mom and say you didn't have time? My mom has that kind of temperament. She finds fault with everything. Can she get along well with my aunt? You should have taken care of my mom yourself. I said, what's the deal? If your aunt can't stand your mom, does that mean I have to put up with her? Yang Yuntian was shocked. You can hear me talking, I said. Not only can I hear you talking, I can also see your ghost. Yang Yuntian asked, since when have you been able to see me? Why didn't you say so earlier? I said, tell me earlier. If you had told me earlier, would you have let me know that you buried gold bars in the courtyard of your old home? Yang Yuntian was shocked. You know, I said, I didn't know originally, but I have to thank Liang Ranran. She claimed that your assets and liabilities didn't match, so I started to suspect that you might have some gold bars that even Liang Ranran didn't know about. Although your car was destroyed, I checked the ETC deduction records and found out you recently made a trip back to your hometown, but you didn't tell anyone about it, so I took the opportunity of sending your mother back to her hometown to bring you along as well. Hard work pays off. When you were circling around that peach tree in the yard, I noticed it right away. Otherwise, why do you think I locked you in the cellar yesterday? Just because I wanted to see if I could dig up any treasures, and as it turns out, I really did find something. Yang Yuntian stomped his feet in anger. Ji Chenga, I really underestimated you, so you've been eyeing my money all along. I said, as a married couple, our shared assets, if I don't keep an eye on them, should I just hand them over to Liang Ranran? You're really something. While you were alive, you guarded against Liang Ranran and hid away part of your money. Yet after you died, you suddenly wanted to bare your heart and soul to her. You even planned to appear in Liang Ranran's dreams after receiving incense offerings. But what a shame, I won't be burning any paper money for you. and it seems Liang Ranran hasn't burned any for you either, Yang Yuntian said. Liang Ranran is carrying my child, so of course I have to plan for her, I said. You're already a ghost, yet you're still so naive. Liang Ranran isn't pregnant at all, and the reason she divorced her husband wasn't because of domestic violence, but because she was caught cheating red-handed by her husband. Otherwise, why would she agree to leave with nothing? Today, I'm going to show you exactly what kind of person Liang Ranran really is. I arrived at a hotel with Yang Yintian's ghost, just in time to witness a scene where the wife was catching the mistress red-handed. That mistress was Liang Ranran. Ever since she disappeared, I had hired a private detective to track her down. I discovered that Liang Ranran had quickly found herself a new man. Of course I wouldn't let her off easy. I sent the photos of Liang Ranran dating that man to his wife, and even tipped her off about the time and place of their secret rendezvous. Perfect timing, wouldn't you say? I heard this man made his fortune through his wife's family, and her relatives are all prominent figures in the underworld. Liang Ranran is probably in for a world of trouble, and when Yang Yuntian saw Liang Ranran's flat stomach, he realized he had indeed been deceived. He cried like a fool. He told me he felt he had no attachments left in this world. Could I find someone to perform the rites for him so he could be reincarnated? I said, I don't think that's a good idea. You left so young, without having a chance to experience the beauty of life. I plan to take your ashes on a trip around the world, so you can have no regrets. Yang Yuntian was extremely excited, saying that I was actually the person who treated him best in this world. I thought to myself, you'll soon regret saying those words. After that, I did indeed take Yang Yintian's ashes to many places. However, at each place, I would scatter a portion of the ashes. Yang Yintian's ghost also visibly became more and more fragmented. He finally realized what I was going to do to him. He wanted to fight me desperately, but even his complete ghost couldn't do anything to me, let alone his scattered soul. Now, I walked and through, until Yang Yintian's ghost completely dissipated. Not everyone is worthy of reincarnation. Now, the world is truly quiet.